Good evening, everybody. Hopefully, we have a couple more join us. If everybody could put yourselves on mute, greatly appreciated. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Here in Baltimore, it's about 44 degrees and raining. So winter's on the way as those of us in the Northeast can Mid-Atlantic now. A couple quick announcements. Um, we have one more call, as you know, December 6th, with a beat writer from the New York Yankees. Um, and he will talk to us about his job. And of course, he did a book on Aaron Judge and the Pursuit of 62. So that'll be on the first Wednesday of December. If I haven't mentioned it before, SABR Day for 2024 in person at the Peabody Heights Brewery is going to be on Martin Luther King Day in Baltimore. It's a Monday. Dick, who owns the brewery, said we can have the brewery for free. It just has to be on a day where it's basically closed to the public. So we will do that on MLK Day this year. The renovations to the backside of the brewery are not complete, so he can't have two events going on at the same time. Those of you who are interested, or if you know people who are interested in being speakers, we need for SABR Day, obviously, in person. I only have one lined up now for 6 slots. For anybody who wants to do virtual speaker for our Peeps at the Peeb, starting in January, we have slots available for next year. And then also, this will all be an email tomorrow, by the way. The Babe Ruth Museum is starting in cooperation with us in January, the second Saturday of the month. We're going to have a speaker series, be a SABR person. If it's somebody who's published and wants to push their book or their forthcoming release, or wants to talk about some kind of research, we're going to do it one Saturday every month of the year, usually on the second Saturday of the month, unless that runs up against the holiday or the Yankees are in town or some kind of big happening. So we need speakers for that too. So if you know of anybody who that will be in person only, at least from the beginning. Maybe it'll be broadcast a little bit later. I can't be sure. But so we're pretty active. So hope everybody had a good holiday. I was down for the count for a couple days with a stomach bug. I'm supposed to be in Virginia tonight with my wife, who's visiting a winery where she has a wedding next spring. But I had to, because of stomach issues, I ended up staying home. So I'm still here in Maryland. She got to go away for a night. So good for her. All righty. For our last babble of 2023, and we'll return to this in March, take December, January, and February off. I'd like to introduce you to a brand new SABR member named Jaimison Pack, who lives down in Tennessee, and he can do his bio and all that kind of stuff. I met Jamison about a year and a half ago. He was in Baltimore for a gala, the Aspire Ripken Foundation Gala, and he came to the Babe Ruth birthplace, and we gave him sort of the back door tour, and the archives, and all this kind of stuff. So he and I got to talking. We've stayed in touch, and he's a huge baseball fan, as you will learn. And recently, he opened a museum in Tennessee, based on his personal collection. And it's quite fabulous. You can follow him on Facebook and Instagram and see some artifacts here and there. But he's actually, I believe, sitting in his museum, and I'm going to let him take over and give you, his intro, talk a little bit about everything, and then obviously we'll take questions at the end. For those of you who know the ballpark passport program that has existed now for a little over a decade in Major League and minor league baseball, there were a couple of attractions like the Hall of Fame and the Louisville Slugger Museum as part of the places to go see. A brand new book of attractions only has just been released. I ordered mine. It's not here yet. I believe it has 30 plus museums and sites on it. So it's staying away from Major League and minor league baseball because everything like that is trademarked. So it's an attractions only passport. The Babe Ruth Museum will be in there. Yogi Berra, a whole bunch of places you would recognize, obviously Cooperstown, Field of Dreams, that kind of stuff. But Jaimison's GroveWood Museum is also going to be in there. So it makes me even more excited to get down there as soon as possible and check it out. So I will let him take it over. I will mute myself and he'll take it away and we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Peter. I appreciate the introduction there. What's up, guys? Hope y'all are doing well. Yeah, I'm here on site at my baseball museum that recently opened this year. I'm the most blessed and luckiest person I know. I'll tell you, every time I walk in here, I kind of pinch myself that it's real. You know, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I can't complain about anything. That's for sure. I can come here and just get lost in the nostalgia of baseball history, and that's what I love the most. So, so I'm actually going to start out with a quick video, and then I got a short presentation that kind of tells about the story of how this all came to be. This is my first presentation like this. I don't know if this might suck, and I apologize ahead of time if it does, but I'll try to be as least amount of boring as I can. I'm not a good speaker, so it may be awkward, but hopefully it doesn't suck too bad, and you guys will maybe think this is kind of cool too. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Can you all see that?
Yep, we got it, buddy.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm gonna play this real quick and then I'll jump back in.
Is there supposed to be sound?
Jamison, you might have to take your headphones off. We don't hear any sound.
And I was immediately drawn to it. I remember going home and telling my parents
You got it. Thank you.
my own collection, just like what he had. And so from that point on, any money that I made from chores or birthdays or Christmases, you know, if I had $5 in my pocket, you better believe I was headed to the card shop. And so as my collection grew, I quickly ran out of space to be able to display it all. And that's where I started dreaming and thinking, man, would have been awesome to be able to have my own baseball museum, like a real museum. And so that's where the idea was born. This baseball museum has well over 1,000 items on display with 11 different exhibits ranging from the Civil War era all the way to the early 2000s. And there's some items that are just cool to be able to see in person, whether it's a Babe Ruth home run ball or a bat that was used by their favorite player. So that nostalgia comes when they start to identify with whatever history of the game that they enjoyed. The beautiful thing about baseball is it resonates with so many people differently, but also kind of the same. And we're able to connect with them. This museum pays tribute to the game of baseball and its players throughout history. And we all have someone we pay tribute to as well. For me, it's my dad and my papa. And I actually have a wall here at the museum dedicated to them. For my dad, he was a big influence on me. I remember on the back of my T-ball card when I was 5, it asked, "Who's your favorite player?" And mine said Dale Murphy. You know why I said Dale Murphy? Because my dad's favorite player was Dale Murphy. And so he was definitely a huge influence for me. And for my papa, I owe him a lot of credit too, because he would absolutely spoil me with buying me packs of cards and singles for my collection when I was a kid. And he would take me to card shows and card shops all the time, and it was so much fun. He would also show up to all my baseball games and videotape them. So I was very lucky to have all the support that I did from my parents and my grandparents. Unfortunately, my papa passed away when I was 13. And not only do I miss him terribly, but I just really wish he could be here to see this now. This museum was created to be shared and was curated to connect all of us who love the game of baseball.
Sorry about that, guys. Can you guys see this presentation screen now?
Not yet.
I'm so bad at this. All right, how about now?
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so yeah, my bad. Again, I don't know. I have never done this before. I'm figuring it out as I go. So yeah, that was a quick backstory of how the museum came to be, and I was gonna elaborate a little bit more on it real quick, and then after that, I pulled a couple items that since this is the Baltimore chapter, that they're related to Babe Ruth that you guys might think are cool. So yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So as the video mentioned, for me, my dad taught me how to play baseball. I think when I was around 4 years old, catching and throwing and hitting and so forth. He was a big part. He was always seems like our team's coach. Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with playing and I always remember us, he and I together throughout my youth and when it came to baseball. So as the video mentioned too, and I don't know if you guys heard the audio, but when I was 7 or 8 years old, my next door neighbor first showed me his baseball card collection, and I immediately was struck. And he was also a Bo Jackson fan. He had a couple pages in his binder of Bo Jackson cards, and one of those was that '87 Topps Future Stars card, which I still see today. It's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I was so envious that he had this cool collection, and I jump started right then. I was ready to try to have as good of a collection as he had. So those late '80s for me, that was my favorite time in baseball. That was when I started learning about the players that the top guys and getting their cards, and all my friends were always competing to see who's got the latest and greatest cards. So I actually by the time I got to high school, though, basketball was really I was a better player at basketball than I was baseball. My body was just better suited for that. And I got out of baseball, and then I actually went to play ball in college, and that was around 99, 2000. By then, I fell out of baseball completely. And it wasn't until all the way skipped to 2013 on a Sunday morning on ESPN, a documentary came up called Bryce Begins. That was right after his rookie year, and it was just talking about the potential and the promise and and Bryce coming in at age 19 in MLB, and just how a rare of an athlete he is. And it just intrigued me. I can't explain it. Like, it just intrigued me so much. And so I started following him and kind of getting back into it. I went on eBay and got a few autographs of some of the legendary players that a lot of people have. You know, your Ted Williams, Hank Aaron, Mickey Mantle, DiMaggio, just Johnny Bench, some of those famous players. And I was like, you know, this is fun. This is cool. As a couple years go by, Dad and I start getting together and going to baseball games. We have the AA for the Cubs close by, 30 minutes away, called the Tennessee Smokies. And so I got season tickets in 14. He and I started going to games. I mean, we didn't miss many games. It's like 70 games a season. We probably went to 50, 55. You know, it was something for us just to get to hang out together, and just a lot of fun. So yeah, that kind of grew into our first trip to Cooperstown early 2017. I saw the MLB special, A Hall for Heroes, about the Hall of Fame, and I was like, Dad, we got to go to Cooperstown. Let's go. So I think it's like April of 17 we went, and it was awesome. Number one, there was nobody there. We about had the whole place to ourselves, which was fantastic. So we got to spend all day on each floor. It was a lot of fun, and getting to see a lot of, I mean, autographs are cool, but seeing the game used and player owned items in person changed it for me. Something triggered to where I immediately was like, holy cow, I can't believe I'm staring at this. I can't believe I'm looking at Babe Ruth's uniform. I can't believe there's Ty Cobb's spikes. There's this and that. And I was texting pictures like crazy to all my friends, like, oh my gosh, can you believe they have this? They have this, they have this. I'm sure they were sick and tired of my texts that day, but it was so much fun. And that's where I really started to dive into the history of baseball. And a book I read immediately after that, Glory of Their Times, as many people have mentioned, you know, as a huge influence on their love of baseball history. That, for me, I really loved that book, and I really enjoyed the stories of those guys from the dead ball era. So as I'm learning about baseball history, I start picking up some game used items, and before I know it, I start a little bit of accumulate a collection of game used and player owned stuff. And my wife at the time so graciously gave me a room in our house. It's about 500, 600 square feet. We don't have any kids, so we had this extra bedroom, and I was like, huh, we should like make this a baseball room. So me and a buddy started hanging signed jerseys, and I got a lot of autograph and picture prints together and had them custom framed. And then I'd have display cases with game used items and documents and things I thought were cool. So that, for me, for 3 or 4 years, that was like my favorite place, right? And that's where I started dreaming. That's where I'm like, man, it's so much fun to be surrounded by baseball history. And it was a perfect place to read a baseball book or watch a game or a documentary, something related. And I'd have friends come over and we'd hang out in there. And it was like, that's where I started dreaming. I was like, man, wouldn't it be awesome if like I had a real museum, like a real museum? And so fast forward 2 or 3 years, the opportunity, it ended up making sense to consider it. I had sold a couple commercial properties and needed tax deductions, and so that was a big part of it. So my CPA and I got together and said, what if how can we make this work in the way that I'm needing it to? Now, if you guys, well, I'm sure you've probably never been to Morristown, Tennessee. It's just a little town on the east end of the state, about 45 minutes east of Knoxville. It has a cool downtown, and my initial thought was I'd love to have one of those upper units that are never used. These buildings were built in the 30s, 40s. They have really cool character to them. On the inside, a lot of exposed brick and original hardwood and so forth. And I looked at 4 or 5 different units, and nothing was working out. Either there was too much updating for things, or couldn't come to an agreement with the owner of the building for rent. There's always something. And so my wife has a women's clothing boutique here in town at a shops complex. And so there was an extra unit that all the commercial tenants used as storage. It's called the Shops at Sherwood Village. And so that top middle picture is the entrance. It's into the lobby as you see these other pictures. It's a cool little area, but most of these interior, like there's a nail salon. That's about the only thing that there's ever any foot traffic. So I go back there and I look at this unit, and the first time I looked at it, I was like, it doesn't fit all those things that those downtown units have. Well, after getting annoyed at nothing working out, I revisited looking at this unit. And so the entrance to this unit is that bottom right picture with the doors. That's all, and it still kind of looks like that. I don't have any signage for the museum. I don't have like you would never know this is here unless somebody told you or showed you. And so this was the inside of that unit. It's 3,500 square feet. In some areas has up to 18 feet tall ceilings, some at 12, 14. It's got some cool character though. This was built in the 50s. So it was just a concrete and wood block, wide open space. So that second time I went and looked at the unit, I was like, okay, like there's a lot of like holes in the block and different things. Like I wonder if we can make that kind of a cool thing. Just use that character that is there. So I finally settled on this unit, and early 2022, we start framing. Now I gotta say, I'm in real estate investment. I've done a lot of properties, a lot of projects, done some development. This was the most stressful and headache-filled project I've ever done. Everything seemed to go wrong all the time. I was always having to compromise. The heat and air guy was supposed to start early January. He didn't even get his part till late February. I mean, there was always like stuff like that. Like it was always running behind. But anyway, it eventually started to come together. And so then we spray paint the ceilings black as well as the metal poles and the railings that go across. So you start to see, a little bit of how cool it could be. And then we get the drywall up. Now the drywall people that I had got about 2/3 of the way done and then demanded more money. So I ended up having to fire them and find another drywall company. So yeah, it's like bittersweet when I look at these photos from the project. So once I get the drywall done and painted, lighting up starts to really take shape, and you can kind of see, okay, what exhibits could go where. Also, one cool thing I want to mention, I have 12 different wall murals, and I got those from theyplayedincolor.com. They take all these black and white vintage baseball photos, add color, and then make them so that they're like vinyl. They're like strips you put together. So I hired a local sign company to come up. I have 12 total, and it is so cool. It adds such a cool effect to each exhibit that they're there. I always get compliments, and some of them look like paintings, but they're not. They're actually photos. It's pretty cool. And then it goes, okay, so what goes where? So at that point, I'm kind of figuring, okay, I know what exhibit goes, but I have thousands of items. What can make which wall? What is going to go in display cases? It was so tedious to try to figure out, of course, as you can imagine. I'm laying out the wall pieces out on the floor. I kind of measure out how much room I have. The thing I was also constantly trying to be aware of was not to have overkill on walls. Like like too much, because when you have too much and your eyes don't know where to go. And so I was constantly trying to think, okay, is this enough? There were plenty of items that didn't even make it onto the showroom that I hated not to be able to use, but I also didn't. It's just like seeing 100 different autographed baseballs all in one case, right? Like you're like, where do my eyes go, right? It's just your eyes start to glaze over. So that's what I was trying to avoid with figuring out how much is too much. So yeah, it was tedious, always changing my mind with what could go where, but finally this year into January, early February, I felt good enough about it to say it's complete. I didn't announce it. I didn't have social media for it at the time. I didn't say anything, or really, I just texted a few people that knew about it, and they came and saw it. I was nervous. I didn't know what people were going to think, if they thought it was going to be cool or not. You know, on the Field of Dreams, when Kevin Costner just builds that baseball field, he's sitting out on a picnic blanket with his wife. He stands up, he turns around, looks, and he says, I just created something totally illogical. That was exactly how I felt with this project. Like, why was I doing it? I'm not sure. It was so much fun to think about having this and sharing it with other people who might think it's cool. And you know, I don't charge for tours. It's not about money. I've had the best time making new friends, people that have came to this, as well as on social media. So I guess that's why I did it. So there are 11 exhibits. It goes chronologically. So when you walk in, you first see the 1800s exhibit. Now when people walk in, they're like, look, doing this. So this exhibit actually gets passed up more than the other ones. Some people, it's usually the diehards that really, they might know who Kid Nichols is, or Ban Johnson, you know, people like that were influential early in the game. I've got some game use stuff from the 1800s as well. They think that's kind of cool, but I love this era. Like I get so excited when I see something from the 1800s. So next you have your 1900 to 1909, and this is where I really, you know, talking about the dead ball era, this is where it starts. And so that ball on the bottom left, that is a game used ball from the 1909 World Series, which was between the Honus Wagner's Pirates and Ty Cobb's Tigers. It was the last out ball of Game 3, and Hall of Famer Fred Clark actually signed it as well. So I thought that was kind of cool. And if you're not aware of the Royal Rooters, Boston's little fan base from the early 1900s, that's a drum that they used when they would stop at Nuff Said McGreevy's saloon, walk across the street to the game, the hunting grounds, and play their instruments and try to annoy the opposing team as much as they could. And so I've got a few things from Nuff Said McGreevy's saloon, and that drum was used with that fan base. Next, we have 1910 to 1919, also one of my favorites. So Smokey Joe Wood is actually my favorite player of all time, and that's where I got part of the GroveWood Baseball Museum. Lefty Grove and Smokey Joe Wood, I just combined their last names, and I thought it kind of sounded cool. So, but that's an Eddie Collins game used bat. That ticket in the bottom left is from 1919 World Series Game 2. That ledger in the middle is from the 1910 Detroit Tigers. That's their general ledger. It's handwritten of all their expenses, all their income, what they paid each player. It was really cool to see that. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff from that decade. Across from that, I've got the Negro Leagues exhibit. And if you've ever been to the museum in Kansas City, you'll know that not a lot of game used Negro Leagues items survived. And so I'm always on the lookout for anything I can find, but they're very rare and highly collectible, as you guys probably already knew that. But yeah, I definitely want to pay homage to the Negro Leagues and how great they were. Buck O'Neill's one of my most favorite humans of all time. I love him, and I'm so glad he finally made the Hall. So around the corner is the 1920s, 30s. I kind of combined it because I had a lot of space. That mural is actually of Babe Ruth hitting a home run at the Polo Grounds in 1920. So yeah, I have a lot of items, and I've added 5 more display cases since I took these photos. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff from that era. In the 1940s, I've got a few cool DiMaggio items. That undershirt he wore. I've got a ball from his 56 game hitting streak from the 54th game. A couple other things. I've got some Bob Feller stuff. Those cleats are Bobby Doors that he used. Got some cool Jackie Robinson stuff too. I've got a foul ball that he hit his rookie year in 1947. A couple other items. So yeah, definitely a cool. And that mural is actually outside Wrigley from the 1945 World Series Game 7. And I'm now, since I took those pictures, I've got a ball from that World Series, and I've got a pedestal display case right in front of it with that ball. I need to update my pictures, don't I? So next, I combine the 50s, 60s, 70s because it goes one side to the other. And so you're just seeing the one side in this photo. But I have a lot of people come through that are older than me that this was in these 3 decades, like those were their favorite players. They really start to connect with those guys. And that jacket on the left it was worn by Hank Aaron during his 74 season. And it's funny, the Nolan Ryan jacket on the Angels on the right corner was also from the 74 season. The Yogi Berra's mask, of course, and then the ball is from the 1972 World Series. I have a 75 game used World Series game used ball too, considered by many to be the greatest World Series ball time. So yeah, that it's a cool exhibit. Now mine, I was born in 81, so the 80s for me is where it's at. 80s, 90s, I had luckily a ton of wall space for my collection of 80s, 90s. I just, that's the nostalgia for me as a kid. A lot of Griffey stuff, a lot of Braves. I'm in East Tennessee. Everybody here is a Braves fan, pretty much. It seems like. Bo Jackson game used bats. I got 2 there. You can see there. I love the '86 Mets. I got several things from that. That's a World Series, '86 World Series ball right there. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. And then one other exhibit area that I have is baseball movie memorabilia, and I have a projector that we can watch baseball movies or docs or games or whatever. I've got some cool comfy chairs I can pull out and we can actually watch right there. So that's a lot of fun. Typically what we'll do is we'll pull out a table and we'll bring out, because we're dorks, we'll bring out some 80s wax box packs and just open 3 or 4 boxes, 86 to 89 usually, and just sit there and watch whatever and pretend we're 9 years old again. So yeah, one cool thing, the original Moonlight Graham, as I understand it, there's only 6 or 7 of his autographs that exist, and I've got one. You can't really see it zoomed in, but under the top left display case, the next one, there's a postcard that he signed. Now the jersey was signed by Ray Liotta. That League of Their Own to the right jersey is signed by Gina Davis. And I got a Tom Hanks and John Lovett's autos and stuff. So a lot of people like that too. It's really cool to see. Even people who aren't maybe huge baseball fans, they love some of these movies and are nostalgic about that. The last exhibit I was going to show is the called shot exhibit. So for me, I think it's one of the coolest moments. Now, I don't think he was pointing at the outfield. I think he was pointing at the dugout, but he was still telling him what he's about to do, and then he does it. So that is worth celebrating to me. I've got a ball from that game. Once I got that, I started adding some pieces to it. I've got inning by inning account notes from a Chicago sports writer who was at that game. And so thought that was cool. I got a program and souvenir and some other stuff. So yeah. Now my original plan though, if you see the projector displaying on the wall of Babe Ruth taking batting practice, my original plan was to try to make a life-size hologram there of Babe, you know, that 30-second clip. And I tried for like 2 months to make that happen, and nothing worked, at least for my budget. And so then I was like, okay, what if I put a wax figure, life-size wax figure? That'd be cool. I couldn't find any that was worth what they were asking for that looked good enough. So plan C was put a hole in that brick and have a projector just play that loop, that 30-second loop of the Babe taking batting practice. So maybe at some point it'll happen where I get that life-size 3D hologram. That would be freaking awesome if it works out. But that's why I tried to, you know, recreate the Wrigley Field outfield, and there's two original Wrigley Field seats up there. That was the plan that I was going for with that exhibit. So like I said, I didn't really know what this was gonna be whenever I did the museum. But what I'm seeing is not only do I enjoy giving tours, and I don't charge for them. I don't have normal open hours. Tours are by appointment only. The reason I do that is because, one, I want to have control over who's here. Two, I don't want to charge people. If I have to pay somebody to be here, then I'm going to have to charge them. I don't want to do that. Three, they're not going to give as good a tour as I am, because I've got all these backstories to the items that I've got 500 and something labels that tell about different things that are needed. There's so much more you can say, you know, and so and I like hearing their stories. I had a tour with a guy who was, I don't even know, 85, 90. He went to Ebbets Field back when he was a kid, you know, and so he's talking about watching Jackie Robinson play, and I just shut up, right? I just enjoy the stories of people, why they love the game, why this, you know, they go for this team or this guy or whatever it was that drew them to the game. And so I don't want to miss out on that. And now, as far as events go, we're now in the process. I had Andrew Jones here in October. I had Steve Sachs here. I had Dwyer Brown, who played John Kinsella in Field of Dreams. Those were so much fun. It was kind of trials to see what the demand here was going to be. So now, we had such good turnouts. So I haven't announced it on social media yet, but we've got Fergie Jenkins coming in January. I've got some other big names coming in 2024 that we'll announce soon. So it's crazy to think about, you know, actually having our heroes here in little Morristown, Tennessee. I have so many people come in and like, I can't believe this is a Morristown. Like, so yeah, it's definitely unexpected, but it's been a blast. People have so loved it when they get to come to these events or tour, and that's what it's about for me. So yeah, I'm having a blast with this for sure. And if you guys are ever near East Tennessee, I hope you hit me up and come visit, and if you'd like to. So now, Peter mentioned I'm on Facebook and Instagram. If you guys are on there, if you want to follow us. So we try to post daily items or events going on or whatever. And then if you want to sign up for the newsletter, it's just GroveWoodBaseball.com. You go in there and you can go in there and do that. So you don't have to, it's up to y'all. So let me stop sharing. Okay. I got a couple items. Oh, do I have time, Peter? We ran over.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Okay. I'll cut a couple items I brought out. I thought y'all might think were cool. All right, so this catcher's mitt was used by Bob O'Farrell, and he was a great player. Actually, he didn't make the Hall, but he was definitely a standout player at the time. He used this in his career, including in 1926 when he played for the St. Louis Cardinals, who went to the World Series against the Yankees that year. Well, you guys may know the story where Game 7, 9th inning, 2 outs, Cardinals are up, Babe Ruth is up, and he walks. He's on first. Grover Cleveland Alexander's pitching. He got Rogers Hornsby on second. Like an incredible amount of talent on those two teams in that 26 World Series. Well, Babe Ruth trying to catch everybody off guard and wanting to get in the scoring position takes off to try to steal second. Cleveland Alexander throws it. Bob O'Farrell using this glove catches it, throws the Babe out at second. That's the end of the World Series. The Cardinals win it on that play. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then I've got I've got two things actually. One story. So this was a Babe Ruth home run ball. I mentioned it in the video, and he hit this in 1927. It was home run number 13, and so thought that was kind of cool to have. I actually have a Gehrig home run ball from that same year. Now, one thing we try to me and a buddy who works for the local paper, we're looking at different connections of items, and so one cool thing that we found was Danny McFadden was the pitcher that threw this ball that Babe hit out. It's number 13 home run. Danny McFadden, if you know who he is, I'll be impressed because I didn't really before my buddy John found out this story. But at the time in 27, he was a journeyman pitcher, didn't have much success at all. But by the 30s, he had turned around his luck and for 3 years became a top pitcher. Well, he was invited to pitch at the very first induction ceremony. This is one of the All-Stars that pitched at that Doubleday field game, and he happened to be the pitcher who pitched to Babe Ruth when he pinch hit for that game. And I actually have a ball from that Cooperstown Doubleday field game as well. And 17 of the players signed it, including our boy Danny McFadden. So that was kind of a cool little connection. Yeah, that's all I got. I guess we can open up for Q&A or whatever else you got, Peter.
All right, guys, you're sitting here with your tongue hanging out like I am, and just marveling at all this stuff that I want to go see in person. So hit up Mr. Pack if you have any questions. Raise your hand, put it in the chat. Go ahead, Meredith.
Hey, thank you, Jamison, for your presentation and for doing what you did. Part of the fun of this is just to watch and listen to you and your passion about this. I have a passion for photography, and I've not really run into anybody else who has a passion, and I can listen to that, in you, and it's really great. Appreciate that. Also, I love baseball, so yeah. I was looking at your website and I couldn't find where you're located. So I looked it up online, and maybe that's purposeful so that you want people to contact you ahead of time.
It is actually. And thank you again for saying that. I appreciate mentioning the passion thing. I am such a big dork when it comes to baseball. So yeah, it's kind of a hidden thing. I don't have signage here. when I have people hit me up through the website or social media asking to request a tour, I go to that point. I went back and forth with. I've taken a lot of effort into the security of the place. I have cameras, I have alarm system, I have multiple things that they'd have to get through to get, but at the same time, like, I don't know how much I really want to say. I don't know. Like, I'm figuring it out as I go, to be honest with you, but
It's okay. I mean, I hear you, and you're doing just what you need to be doing, so it was just an interesting observation. Like, I always figure, like, I didn't see it. Where was it? But one last thing, I just looked up online, and it's 6 hours from DC. I live in DC on good weather. And I really would be, and then the nearest airport is Asheville, but I'm really interested I'm born and raised in Chicago area, and I was a White Sox person, but Cubs are pretty good too. So, I'd love to, really love to hear Fergie Jenkins, and also try to get my older brother, which would be kind of a challenge, but I think he loves him. So I was just trying to find out, just knowing that it's going to be winter time, if you could give us a little bit of a heads up on that when you do decide to announce that. Thank you.
absolutely. So if you sign up for the newsletter, that's where we
did.
announce it first before we do social media. But we're actually looking at 2 events with pretty much everybody who comes from here on out. A dinner, which will be 50 to 75 attendees, kind of a VIP type of event where you can do basically mingling. We're going to do a Q&A, a little bit more intimate, and then we'll have another event that'll be more of an autograph signing, pose for picture type of event. So we're looking at 150, 200 tickets for something like that.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Go
Hi,
ahead, Karen.
thank you. I have a question. On your journey, one thing, I'm a pirate fan, so I wanted to know if you have anything from Roberto Clemente.
I have a 62 Pirates team signed ball. I have a bat. I have several things with his picture on it. I think that's all I have though of him. I'm always on the lookout for Clemente stuff. Of course, his stuff isn't cheap. But
No, it's no. I
yeah.
also would like to know, is there anything that you would love to have at your museum that you can't find or haven't had that?
There's a million things on my list. There are so many things. And so many things are being auctioned now and going for such high prices, which is like, gosh, I saw a Sandy Koufax glove being marketed. I think it's from his 1956 season, and it has pine tar inside it, which is illegal now, but it was interesting that, love to have that. Oh my gosh, there's literally a million things that I wish I had. I keep finding new things I didn't even know I need until I see it, and there are times too where I come across something I didn't even know about that particular event or player or something, and then like I didn't know about the Dutch Leonard affair until I got an insurance letter written to Tris Speaker in support of him while he was going through that in 1926. Then all of a sudden, I'm diving into anything I can find it with the Dutch Leonard affair. So, yeah, it's hard to answer that. I mean, I love all those eras. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Jeff.
I'm sure Peter told you about the Babe Ruth card that's being auctioned right now.
I saw that. I did see it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't collect cards anymore. Yeah, I got out of it in high school, and no, I think they're awesome. Like, and all my friends collect still.
Well, The last bid as of now is 5.5 million.
I didn't know it was that much. Yeah, that's crazy.
They were expecting it to go over 10. Well, it's only a few days to go yet.
I don't even know how to, that's hard to process.
Jamison, in terms of tours, do you do them every day of the week? How much advance notice do you need?
Just varies. So I'm self-employed and work from home. I'm usually pretty available, especially on afternoons and evenings and weekends. I had somebody hit me up on Thursday, this past Thanksgiving evening, and say, "Hey, can we do tomorrow morning on Friday?" And I'm like, "What?" So I did. Actually, it was him and his son and his father-in-law, and I met him. He was here for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and if I can make it, it's only about a 15-minute drive from my house. It's no big deal. I try to work it in as best as people's schedules.
Well, we hope you one, thanks for being a SABR member. Yeah, we'll definitely spread the word of your little empire that you have.
Thank you.
And for those of you, I mean, you and I've met face to face, and I'm not sure if or when you're going back up to to Maryland, but hopefully you can get out to SABR convention next summer in August. It's in Minneapolis. That'd be the kind of place where you can tell people who are the diehard of diehards about your shrine, and people get more people talking and whatnot. A lot of SABR members, if you haven't seen, are a little bit older. So some of them are retired and have free time and probably would like to take a road trip to Tennessee. And since you're going to be in that new passport book of attractions, and there's the Shoeless Show one in South Carolina, and there's a couple other places to check out in the South that are going to be in that book. So 2024 could be a busy one for you if the word gets out. People want to check you out.
That sounds awesome. I hope so. Yeah, Greenville, South Carolina, with Shoeless Joe's, only about 3 hours from here. Same for the Ty Cobb Museum, which in Georgia. So, yeah, I would love that. That would be amazing if we could, spread the awareness and like I said, who knows what it's going to be, but I'm excited for whatever it is.
Oh, good. We hope to.
I live in Greensboro, North Carolina, so I'm not too far away.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, as I believe you said, and I just wanted to be sure I was clear on this. I looked on your website, and the announcements of your programs the best way might be to subscribe to your email. Is that correct?
Yeah, just subscribe to the newsletter on there. And like I said, that's where we'll post information about new events first. I usually do one a month email anyway. I'll highlight an item, and I'll also talk about something new that we just got in. We just got donated a trunk that was used in the 1931 Tour of Japan All-Stars that was owned by Willie Cam. I haven't even got the thing opened yet. I've got a locksmith here who's trying to figure out how to get it open without breaking it, but real excited about, I got donated that, which never happens. I always have to buy my stuff. So that was really cool that the family donated it. And so anyways, in the emails, we'll be talking about, a new item that we just got and so forth. So
is an email the same as your newsletter, or is it?
Yes, that's the same.
It is the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. It's been very interesting. Certainly.
Thank you.
Sounds like you got quite something going there.
I don't know. We'll see. Thank you, though.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Jamison, are you guys Eastern time zone or Central?
Eastern.
Eastern. Okay. I get confused once I
go about 2 hours west. It becomes Central.
Got it.
I'm on your site and I can't find where to sign up for the newsletter.
It's down at the bottom, or it says email. Subscribe to our emails.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And I see you can ask for tours on your website too. There's a place where you can request it.
Correct, yes.
Awesome. I'm glad we finally got Jamison on. I've been planning on doing this for a while, but I wanted him to get his museum up and running and get the kinks out and whatnot. So he's a cool guy. He stays in touch with me. Here's a quick story, right? Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody, a lot of people think of me as a Babe Ruth expert just because I work with the first place, and I probably have a little bit above average knowledge. So Jaimison sends me a text a little over a month ago. He's like, how's it going? How you feeling? Like, I gave your name to Steve Sachs. He had some questions about Babe Ruth. You might hear from him. I'm like, really? And then literally within about 7 minutes, Steve Sachs is calling me, and I had a nice 30-minute conversation with him. So, obviously the man hasn't played in a long time and everything, but he was was a heck of a player with the Dodgers and the Yankees. It just, I get giddy when I get to, he collects things, and when I get to talk to ball players and people I admire, I get excited and whatnot. And Steve said, hey, stay in touch, and here's my text number and all this kind of stuff. So, we're all part of the baseball family. We root for different teams. We have, we're fans of different eras, long lost ballparks, whatever. But as time marches on and the names change and franchises move as we see, the athletics are going to be moving and whatnot. We're all fans. It connects to generations. And Jamison to his grandfather and his dad. My dad's been gone 11 plus years now, so I think of him all the time when I get involved with baseball stuff. So this time of year when we don't have baseball, all we have is documentaries and books on the MLB Network to get us through to spring training. I like having these talks once or twice a month. It kind of keeps me excited so I don't hibernate. And we just we look forward to February, obviously. And people like Jamison and some of these guys who have the luxury of having extensive collections. But in this case, he actually makes it available to the public, and we're all grateful for that. And I want to get down to see a Smokies game, hopefully in the next year or so. And hope you can come to the SABR 50. What it will be 52 this year in Minneapolis. And I think it's in the first week of August, but I'm sure you'll see all the announcements and stuff. It's at the Hyatt somewhere in Minneapolis. So
Absolutely.
won't keep you guys any longer. I know it's Sunday after Thanksgiving. If we were in Pennsylvania, all the hunters would be going out first thing in the morning since it's basically a state holiday there. As a native Pennsylvanian, I know that.
Keep your head down.
What's that?
And they're
Keep
orange.
your head down.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm in downtown Baltimore. There's bullets flying, but it's not at animals. So we'll see where we go. Hope to see you guys on December 6th for our last speaker of the year. And reach out to Jamison, follow him on Instagram and Facebook, and sign up for the newsletter. If you guys can get down there. See, Fergie Jenkins or any of the other individuals he has coming down the line.
Hey, Peter, I wanted to mention too, you should have Steve Sachs on here because he has the funniest Tommy Lasorda stories. The pranks that they would all play on each other. He's got a really good Nolan Ryan story.
I'll reach out to him in the new year, or if you talk to him before I do, see if he'd be game to.
He's so good. We had him for 3 events when he was here. He was here for 4 days, and we had a blast. And some of the stories were the funniest things you've ever heard. So Tommy Lasorda was different, man. He was not your typical manager. The pranks they play on him, that he'd play on the players, and the stuff they get away with. And oh my gosh,
that's good to know. Well, if you talk to him before I do, mention if you'd be interested. Let me know.
Yeah, sure.
That'd be awesome. We're always game to have, wonderful players, former players, managers, whomever, talk to us. But hope you guys have a good rest of the weekend. It's only a couple hours left. I'm off tomorrow. Got to get over the stomach bug, and you know how to reach me if you need anything. And expect the email or so tomorrow about all the upcoming stuff. for our chapter. Greatly appreciated. Thanks for taking time out of your holiday weekend, and we'll see you
Thank
next time.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Really,
Thanks,
thanks for
guys.
listening.
Thank
Be
you
in
guys.
touch. Appreciate it.
Awesome. See ya.